Welcome back to the Incredible Machines podcast, where we sit down with incredible people doing incredible things. Today we sit down with Thando-Rose Dladla, a spiritual healer, breathwork facilitator, entrepreneur, and powerhouse who's redefining what it means to live authentically in modern South Africa. We talk about answering the spiritual call and surviving a marriage that nearly killed her, reclaiming identity and breaking generational cycles, building the Funkie Healer, hosting men's retreats, and empowering communities through skills development. So settle in as we dive deep through an episode filled with ancestral wisdom, radical authenticity, and the practical lessons we can learn from someone who truly lives in her power. Let's go with the Funkie Healer, the incredible Thando-Rose Dladla. Well, what brings you to KZN?
What brought me to KZN? Oh, that's a story. I was married to a man for 2 years, and that marriage was the catalyst, the foundation that led me first to believe in my spiritual calling, my gift, because of what I went through there. And then when it ended, it wasn't safe for me to be there or in Joburg around him and his family. And my parents had moved here in 2006. So I had a home to come to. So I did. And I needed to be close to the ocean. And I always joke about how I needed to learn how to be a real Zulu. Because growing up in Joburg, my parents are from Soweto. My grandfathers are both from KZN, but they left and found women in Gauteng and married, started families. So there was no real connection for me here. Yes, we'd come because obviously my dad's grandparents still had a home here. So there's still a base in Pangeni. And my other maternal grandfather, his base is in Newcastle. So there was still a bit of a connection. So we'd come to KZN every year and everything. But I wasn't in touch with who I am. I was in touch with my roots. It wasn't a real thing for me. And because I was also very religious at the time, it was possibly something I wasn't open to. And that circumstance of being in that crazy marriage led me here. And I'm so grateful. The energy here is unmatched. While I thought, oh, it's so slow. People here wear slops all day, I see why, the wisdom in my spirits bringing me here, the nature, the ocean, the people, the relaxed nature of this place. It's palpable. It's unmatched. And every time I leave KZN and go to Joburg, I can feel the difference. If you're driving, as you get onto the N3 and you pass Marion Hill, there's just like, okay, I'm home, but even before that, going through the Midlands, going through the mist of Moy River and feeling the cold, the different contrast, but then it's green all the way. Mm. And that's the beauty of KZN. When you're flying in King Shaga and you look down and you see all the cane, you see Mjoti and you see, Salt Rock and how green it is. And you see the little boxes people live in and you're just like, okay, this is home. It's alive. It's mother, it's nature, and I love it.
I heard you say they're real Zulu. What can you unpack that for me?
The real Zulu, because in Joburg we're mixed. There's people from everywhere, people that speak different languages. So we default to English usually. And this is based on, after 94, a lot of Black people finally had an opportunity to leave the township. And we found ourselves in areas where now we're the minority. And because of that, we also very different people. So we default to English. So while I could speak Zulu, my family speaks Zulu, I wasn't deeply rooted in the traditions and the cultures and what it really means to be a Zulu woman in this day, really. Yeah, so coming here, I needed to go back to Mpangeni and find out the history of my my grandfather, and then I found out he wasn't even born there. They were actually born in Msinga, the Greytown area. And they moved after all 8 of them were born, him and his siblings. I didn't even know he was one of 8, and they moved to Empangeni because his sister married somebody whose father was a chief in the area, and they were able to give them land, and they moved the family there. So that was fascinating for me, because then I went back to the original land, and then I met the people there, and we still have family there, and they're still very much rooted in the traditions, the way they dress, still practice polygamy, and very simple life, growing your own food and just learning basic skills of survival was very eye-opening, having grown up in such a modern way, in such a religious way, where being me was demonized. I was told who I am and what I come with is evil. It's against, So I also had to go through a bit of that. Like, I know there's God. I know there's a creator. I'm sure about that. I'm connected to this being, right? But this place that's supposedly the custodian of this being's word and how we should live says to me the fact that I can speak to spirit, the fact that I'm connected to ancestors, the fact that now and again I'll have to slaughter an animal is evil. It was a very, very confusing thing for me to like wrap my head around. But going through like the process of where I come from, my maternal side, my father's mother, who was an orphan, I didn't even know. I had to go find where she was from, who her mother is, and what's happening there. And in doing that, I got to understand who I am and what this thing means, and why it's so important to go through this and like fix the family lineage, so that all the suffering that we can't understand, the generational curses that we can't understand, finding out where this comes from. What is the root for the alcoholism, the fear of water, the sexual abuse, the womanizing and all the stuff, So learning how to be Zulu really is learning how to be me. And in understanding that, also detaching from the identity of being a Zulu. I'm a spiritual being having a beautiful human experience. I just happen to come into this body. I just happen to have the skin tone, but it doesn't define the essence of who I am. And I think being here and living with Zulu people and that pride that comes with being a Zulu, but also the closed-mindedness that comes with it as well, in the sense that it's almost like nobody else matters. Like it's only about Zulu. We are the superior ones. We are the warriors, and also that aggression that comes with the Zulu that I don't agree with. So I've gotten to have the opportunity to mold myself and to understand myself and what it means to be a healer, a sangoma, a shaman, a inyanga, a herbalist, a medium, and it all comes together to make me the Funkie Healer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that. Thanks for sharing. So we sent you that EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization exercise, the Lifeline.
Yes.
It sounds like you went through that. Maybe take us back to that beginning, because you were. It's an interesting one because I said on the call when I invited you on, you've been nominated by people that haven't yet been on the show.
Yes.
And it's the first time we're doing that, which is interesting. But they're still to come on, and they just said, go for this one, go here, and you were open to it. So thank you very much for joining us. The Lifeline, they called you. I mentioned it because they called you. She's a Josie girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, and last week I was in Cape Town at a conference, and I spoke, and then I got down from the stage, and one of the comments, I had really good feedback, which was amazing, but one of the comments was like, you're the most Durban person I've ever seen on stage, and they loved it. So they meant it as a compliment, but I was like, okay, like I'm just me, And then,
Yeah.
like I said, like you said, similar to what you said, I'm just in this unit. Often I
Yeah.
forget I'm in this unit, and it
Yeah.
seems to be easier to do for me for some reason. But the and we don't have to get into that. But I'm experiencing it through this unit, and
Mm.
but Josie Girl was what I was told,
Yeah.
and you've made a comment about the slowness and stuff. We also work a lot in digital marketing and digital in general. So for us, we just happen to have a presence in KZN
Yeah.
as physical entities, but like the world's very fast the way we work,
Absolutely.
and we have
Yeah.
to keep up with them. But so you're born in Joburg, and
Lived
then
there for 36, almost 37 years of my life. I've been here for
and you were
almost 4
schooled
years.
there.
Schooled there, raised there, everything.
Okay, and
Yeah.
in those, you said that you struggled with the what do you call them? Glitches or the ditches in the lifeline that looks like an ECG, because actually in the end of it,
Mm.
those were what made you what you are. But
Yeah.
they were still. Were there anything fundamental, because they're still pivotal in the character that has been built in the unit, that the experience.
Yeah.
Is there anything worth mentioning, or that
You know what stood out for me is how many times we moved.
Okay.
And of course, with the changing of, the economy of the family and the opportunities opening up and having, so the more money the parents make, you move. And this is generally how it goes. I thought, maybe it's made me not like committing. It possibly affects my ability to be stable, because I quite like moving now. So I think as a child, I adapted to it and it became something that I like. May not necessarily be a good thing, because I can sort of keep it moving. So it's difficult for me to attach, and that's possibly why I'm divorced twice, because once something is not working for me, once I feel like it's the old, I move on to the new. And I've gone through this in therapy, and we couldn't find a solution. And eventually I was like, this is who I am. In a positive light, it's made me adaptable. It's made me to be able to move in any way. And I love that they describe me as she's so Josie, because what I believe one of the things that being in such a mixed society does, it prepares you to be anywhere. Because at any point you could be with anyone. Your neighbor could be anybody. It's not going to be a Zulu person or a typical Durban person, as you say. Which there's a type. There is, I can spot you out. I can spot a Durban. There's also an accent. There's a vibe. There's a way you dress.
But people assume things. I think, like, it was ages ago. I was getting back into my car, and I had flowers with me, and I try to get my wife like flowers every like minimum every 2 weeks. I've got just a routine that I follow, so
I
she
love
gets
that.
fresh flowers. And but a woman walked past, and she said, "Oh, those are beautiful. Who's the lucky lady?" And I was like, "What? It couldn't be a man." Like, that's the first place I went. Like, you just so like, am I not well kept enough? Am I not handsome enough to be gay? Like, that's where my mind went. It was a joke, but like, things said in jest. It was just these things that we project onto people sometimes, and then
I think it's not a negative thing. There's no way you'll be a fast mover in such a chill town. It's just
you don't
not.
fit. Yeah, you would be erratic. Like,
what are you doing? You know what I mean? So for me, it's not a negative thing. It just is.
Okay.
It just is.
And your school life, did you move around as well?
Yeah. So let me tell you about my school life. So when I remember going to nursery school, Hansel and Gretel. It was in Hillbrow, before Hillbrow became what it is now. And I loved it so much. And I was 4 years old, I think. And I just remember us going to this public pool every Friday. And that memory sticks out in my mind so much. Then I went to Johannesburg Girls Prep School, normal, English people. And we'd have like, now and again, there'll be somebody from Zambia, whatever. But also because of the time, I started school in 92. So I was the minority. But I didn't know this. When I noticed I was a Black girl, I was 10 years old. And that's what stood out in the timeline.
How did you notice you're a Black girl?
So I was an adventurous soul, always been an adventurous child. And some days I'd wander off. And one day I wandered off and my parents thought I was lost. But I'd gone to a party, I'd gone to ballet, like I had the time of my life. I must have been like 8 years old. But I remember that day so clearly. And I got there, of course, in the nighttime, and everybody thought I was lost. Anyway, this led to the consideration of boarding school, maybe, because clearly, I wasn't the one. And at this time, my brother was in matric, part-time boys, and he used to make sure I get home safely. Now he's leaving, so now we need to make a plan for this crazy child. Then my mom spoke to me about boarding school, and she worked at the bank at the time, and somebody told her about the school in the mountains of Johannesburg. And she thought, this one loves playing outside. This is perfect. I think, okay, let's do it. The fact that, she was consulting a 10-year-old, I always say to her, because she's like, but you wanted to go. I was like, I was 10 years old. But I remember going to visit the place and, the kids were walking around barefoot and playing on trees and tree houses. And they used to play at the bushes. We used to call it the bushes. And I thought, okay, this is cool. And I got there and was the first Black girl to enter the school. It was previously an Afrikaans school. It's 95 now. And they've been forced to now introduce English kids and African kids. So each grade has one English class. And then the rest of the school is Afrikaans. Okay. Wonderful. At this time, I've never been exposed to Afrikaans. While we did it at school, it was basic, the words, whatever. It wasn't anything serious, especially at that foundation phase. They're not teaching you how to speak it in an English school. I get there. First, I was in a girls' school. Now I'm going to a co-ed school. And now I'm being exposed to Afrikaans. We've moved from the township, and my neighbors are the Groenewalds. Very much Afrikaans as well. They've never had to live with people that look like us. We've never lived with people that look like them. So that's a whole other dynamic. But everybody was open and curious. So thank God I never had a negative experience. When I got to the school, now I'm the only one there. Everything's gravy. And this boy calls me the K word. And I call him back because I thought it's an insult. And if somebody insults me, I say you too, And then I had to inquire what this word means. And then I don't even remember who had to explain to me, but that this is what it is and where it comes from and the fact that I'm different. And that's the first time it dawned on me that, oh, I don't look like Karen or whoever else was my friend. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. And did it, how did that affect you? Like, that just shatter?
It did, because suddenly I had to notice that I didn't look like everybody else. And because there was no one else that looked like me, that even complicated it even more. The only other people that looked like me were the people working at the school. And I couldn't relate to them. It was in the Northwest where they spoke a different language. They spoke Setswana, and as a Zulu child, not really used to speaking the language, but they also couldn't relate to me because here I am, I come from Joburg, I speak English, and they live in the farms, very primitive, simple life. So it was very difficult. And here you are, you're not white enough, but yet you're not Black enough. And I remember a colored child joining the school, Unilia, and then we sort of attached to, because she's also different now. And then we had an Indian girl come, and she's also different. But then more African kids came, not too many, but yeah, I think it did shape how I felt, my identity, because like, where do you fit in when the people you look like don't accept you? But then the ones you don't look like do accept you. That was the thing as well, you know? So it still happens now, which is crazy. My daughter experiences it. Not in Joburg, but because, like I say, everybody's everybody. But yeah, certainly. There's uh, I don't know if we need group therapy or what, but there's a healing that needs to happen among South Africans. Division was used to conquer, and not just amongst Africans, all of us. The English versus the Afrikaans, the immigrant versus the local, the Zulu versus the Tswana versus the tribes. There's so much division in our society, and it holds us back so much. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I quote it often, and apologies to the listeners if this is getting boring for them, but that's one of my favorite campaigns is Stronger Together, and big one of the reasons, not just because it's the rugby thing, but
Yeah.
it's because it's based on that African proverb of
Yeah.
we're gonna go far,
Exactly.
yeah, we go together,
Yeah.
we're stronger together,
Absolutely.
and I totally agree with you that the division was. You said something there. I can't remember the exact language that you used, but it was like the mechanism that was used. It was and across, like you're saying, it's not just language. So even white Africans were different because they were English speakers, Afrikaans. They were
Yes.
Soutbeels or whatever they
Exactly.
thing, or rednecks. Or
Exactly. Soti.
It's a family show, bro.
Yes.
yeah, see,
Yeah,
I studied
yeah.
learned Afrikaans. I did a second semester of Afrikaans in Netherlands. I don't even know what the swear. Well, yeah, I do know the swear words. So like the division is a separation, and it's because it makes you weak. It's
Exactly.
incredibly deviously
It's
ingenious.
intentional.
It's
Social
very
engineering.
clever,
Yeah.
but like evil, clever. Like I
Mhm.
don't know if there's another word for that.
Sinister.
Sinister.
Yeah.
That's it. Is
Yeah.
sinister intelligent? I don't think it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of the things that I worry about, like the way we put the world back together since is that we still operate like they've still won, because we operate in the way.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answer for this because, and I shouldn't have the answer for this because, the unit is a white male, 82 model, and so it's like I wouldn't be the one to come up with the answer. I think not one person can come up with one. I think there's many, but many people need to be involved. But I was wondering the other day if there was a way, and maybe with AI it could be something where we can look back at the way we classify previously disadvantaged, and we don't base it on the visual element, because we're visual animals.
Yes.
But maybe we could base it on, again, Poppy would probably have a lot to say about this, the problem of all the data that would be needed to do this. But like, were your parents affluent or your grandparents affluent, and then how many points does the university status that your parents got you get you and make you, and then it wouldn't be the gist of it, I imagine, would be quite similar, but the system wouldn't be on site. So that on site that's what's devious or sinister. And I spent a fair bit of time in Hawaii. I was fortunate enough to live there for a bit, and while I was studying, I loved their idea of the aloha. There's a hana, which is like Ubuntu, and like it's like a family. Like it's similar. It's very. There's so many things that are just so similar. I mean, if I didn't choose to be here, I would probably live there. I absolutely love it, and I love the people there. But I understand.
But can I ask you a question? What's stopping you from immersing yourself in the culture of the people here that you have access to?
No, I do try. I do try, but just on that, to close that loop, they see the Hawaiians. That you could be a blonde, blue-eyed Hawaiian, like it was like they don't see you for the unit like
Yeah.
that. They see your soul, your heart,
Yeah.
and therefore you could be like a
Yes.
blonde, blue-eyed Hawaiian. Um, there was a term, or there is a term called, I think it's haole, means and it was um to describe the Europeans that came over. There's something that they did. I always forget this, but like they didn't like wash something, or they didn't do something and pray the way they prayed, or it was something that they did. It meant that they had no soul. So haole means no soul.
Oh.
So similar to the words you describe and the
Yeah.
words we use, they had that to differentiate other and external, and that. So yeah, to your question, yeah. Now I mean, I try to immerse myself as much as I can. I could always be better. My isiZulu is not very good. Uh, I'm trying, and I try to get better at it. We've actually got a show I'll speak to you separate about that we work with Podcast and Chill, and we do the KZN show that they do.
Okay. Yeah. We
and
all know Podcast and Chill, of course.
yeah, well, they've
Yeah.
done that rebrand, I think, which has been great. And then it's quickly the show's being Nation with so I'm not sure if you've seen that.
I saw, in fact, after seeing one of your podcasts, the next thing led me to Ngizwe.
Yeah,
Ngizwe's
I mean,
clip.
oh, no,
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, so that, I mean, that was just quickly because this is not what the show's about, but I love that, like, it was pitched to us last year that we could be involved in, and not by them. They came separately, and I've really enjoyed working with that team. But like I said, they've done their rebrand, and I think they've handled that quite well. Where they're going now, but they went to the king, and they had an offering for the king, a head of cattle, and they got blessings to do the show. We were told last year that there was the Zulu nation wanted to tell their history,
Yes.
in a way that hasn't been told, and has
Yes.
not been
Documented.
or
Yeah.
and approved
I love
by
that.
the monarchy,
Yeah.
the Zulu monarchy, the
Yes.
king,
Yes.
and I think the diaspora would benefit from it. And the diaspora, like South Africans in general, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like the
We are.
isiZulu speakers are everywhere.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that show is doing that. We do our team transcribes it.
Yes.
And
that must be fun.
it's actually very difficult. It needs to be like an academic that would probably do it. It's very difficult
Yeah.
because there are nuances, and there's stuff, and there's
Yeah.
but so yeah, I could always be better and immerse myself, and I'm tired of saying that I can't speak the language. Like I did a semester. I need to make a change about that. So I'll
I
take
love
that.
that.
I'll take that.
I love
on the
that.
chin.
Well
I
done.
think that's yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you can congratulate when I can.
No, but
reply.
even having the curiosity. I had a friend that moved from Switzerland to South Africa, to Durban. I met her when she moved here, and she said to me, the first thing she did was obviously want to learn the language of the people. And she asked somebody at the yoga class, and they told her she's better off learning Afrikaans. So,
Yeah.
not that there's anything wrong with that, but I found it strange in KZN to not recommend isiZulu. Then it led me to the lack of curiosity. And why is there no curiosity? Because let's be honest, white people have never had to speak our languages.
So I find that so interesting. My kids now are this Afrikaans, and nothing against Afrikaans. I learned the language. I did it. Like I said, I did even a second semester at when I was at UKZN. That furthered it.
Yeah.
And beautiful language, and like inherent. It's an African
proudly
language.
South African.
It's proudly South African. So, but practically, like in KwaZulu
Exactly.
Natal,
Exactly.
like why are we not speaking more of it? You obviously, I'm imagining your Afrikaans must have been pretty good because of schooling.
Yes.
Before we get into more of the coming to the Zulu in you and becoming, because you talked about it becoming more, and getting and coming back here, and you even mentioned draw to the ocean. how long were you at that school now that we were
Until
talking
grade
about?
7.
And
So
then?
from grade 4 to 7,
Okay.
5 to 7,
So that's
yeah.
till about high school.
Until, yeah. So
Yeah.
I finished primary school there. Then
And then?
I went back home. I went to Krugersdorp High School, which was also a boarding school, but then I was a day scholar and then asked to go back to boarding school because,
You asked to go back.
yeah.
You're accustomed to a certain lifestyle now.
Yeah, and just being independent. Like, I couldn't stand my mother telling me what to do. And, like, I was so used to doing my thing and being responsible for myself. And now there's this person trying to control me. And of course, as a teenager, it's just like, oh, leave me, So, yeah, then I went back, which was amazing. I loved it. Yeah, then after that, did Wits for a year, LLB, because I was a great debater and public speaker. And in matric, I was in some United Nations debates at Wits for young people. And then they recommended I study law. Hated it. Ugh. My goodness, I couldn't believe the amount of reading that one had to do. I was just like, oh no. At some point, and I know I shouldn't probably say this, but I'd get people to do my assignments and just because I just couldn't. I just couldn't. And yeah, and I'd spend all my days at the drama department because all the creatives were there, and I'm a creative child. I just love performing and all of that. So but I grew up in a time where artists are poor and you need a real career. Even though my parents didn't push me to a real career, but my socialization and my frame of mind said you need a real career. Acting is not a real career. Drama is not a real career, and you're gonna be broke. Who wants to be broke? So I didn't go for that. After the year, I went to Boston Media and did media, which was great. Television, radio, had a great time. And when I got there, I found my friend Megan, who was the first friend I made in high school. Then I get there and she's there. How crazy. And we're still friends today. So that was special. Yeah.
Cool. And then you've mentioned a few marriages in passing. Was that I think early on you said the first one was that Boston, the way
I was still there. My parents moved to Durban. It was 2006, and I wasn't ready to leave the nest. I latched on to a guy. He was ready to get married. We dated for 3 months and we got married. And I was 21 at the time. At 24, we had our child. And at 26, I was like, no ways. Because who makes the right decision at 21? Let's be honest. Some people are lucky too, but nobody should be making such decisions at that age. But we were cool, we partied together, we had fun together. The real responsibility came with the child, and then the relationship couldn't survive having to grow up. So that ended, and yeah, I partied, I lived my life, I traveled and met another guy, married him, and that's a whole other story.
You traveled?
Yeah, for holiday. Just for holiday, just seeing the world, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with my friends and being a young person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything?
Funny. I remember in Bangkok, we random time in Bangkok, in the wrong part of Bangkok, and there was a fortune teller. I don't even know why she was there because there was such debauchery around. I don't know what spirit she was,
I think there's always
connecting to.
There's always a fortune teller in Bangkok.
Yes. And then she said to me, I'd be married 3 times. And at the time, I'd only been married once. And I was like, this woman is nuts. I mean, I don't want to get married again. And now I'm on 2. So I guess she was right. Let's wait and see. Yeah, I joke though, but obviously marriage is a very serious thing. But I think my parents have been married since 1977. 50 years next year.
Wow.
Yes. So marriage was a big thing for me. It was something I believed, still believe in, because I grew up in it. I see it, and I see a working marriage, a loving marriage. And my parents are legit, I know people stay in marriages sometimes for long, and you can tell they're not really into it, especially that generation. But they were able to leave everything they knew and move together, and with no friends, no community, nothing. There's just the two of them, just to tell you how close they are. So it wasn't nice for mine not to work, but also I was going into these relationships basing it on my parents' relationship, which is, it can never be. They are the only ones. So
How? Can you explain that? Unpack that a little bit. How are you basing it on theirs, or
I was possibly expecting those men to be like my father. Um, and the relationship to mold itself the way my parents are so together and molded and a unit, and how they're able to go through everything, the trials and the tribulations, and it's so real, they love, you can feel it, you can sense it, and it's very authentic, and it's based on nothing but each other, which, looking now, is possibly easy for them because they met in high school when they had nothing. So they grew up together, they build together, they've been through all their phases of life together. So it's probably an unrealistic expectation on any guy that I meet for them to.
well, in 3 months maybe.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe, and that just speaks to who I am. As an adult, I've had to be more responsible in how I make my decisions. And I always joke that my ancestors knew I had to have a child early because they wouldn't have got me to settle, first of all. To settle and to remain in this country and have to be a responsible adult because I'm a mother. Yeah.
Yeah, you grow up quickly.
Yeah, you have to grow up. You
Yeah.
have to be responsible. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an absolute gift, I think. It's one thing I realized in meeting my wife, and she was a single mom before I met her. But
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing about, I mentioned this in when I talk about Africa, and as well as like she doesn't need me there.
Mm.
She wants me there, and it's really nice to not be
Yes.
needed. I want that in the business. At the moment, working in the business, it's not to be needed, to be wanted is a great thing.
Yes.
And it's a lot of pressure that's lifted off your shoulders. And I'll stay as long as they'll have me, my family, and the fellow South Africans. Like, I'll stay as long as they'll have me. And the next relationship, is there anything to talk about there? Was that longer courtship than 3 months?
That was a 2-year courtship.
Okay,
this time I was cautious, I was like, let's get to know this person, let's see where they're from, but woo, he turned out to be a con artist. Oh my gosh. Random afternoon, my parents live in Umhlanga, and their neighbor Edwina, who's become a mother of mine as well, says to me, listen, my brother just got married. He met this woman on the site. Let's sign you up. So I'm like, okay, let's give it a bash. Nothing to lose. I go on this thing. 2 weeks later, I'm like, this is too much for me, because you get messages like all day. And a lot of them are creepy, to be honest. And then this person sends me a message. I'm like, look, I'm trying to get off this thing. And this time it had been 3 days trying to get off the site. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm being scammed. And the company sits in Denmark. And, anyway, I managed to get off. But just before I get off, this person sends me a message and they're like, look, says something that clearly impressed me. And I'm like, here's my email address. I'm getting off this thing. Sends me an email, start chatting on email, and 4 days later, we meet in person, because I'm like, this, could be catfish. You know what I mean? And we were cool. And because I was also very heavy in the church, and he was a church guy, and usually that bonds people, the spiritual belief or the religious belief. And we dated for 2 years. It was great. Nothing. One thing, he wasn't like me or anybody around me, which I enjoyed, because in my mind, opposites attract. And, if he's nothing like the people I'd been with, he must be different and it will probably work, whatever. Nonsense. Compatibility is important. Not the point. So we get married 2 years later and we move in. He has to stay in Pretoria because of his custody situations. He has to be close to the kids. And so I have to move to Pretoria. Which I wouldn't recommend, but shout out to the people in Pretoria. I didn't.
I wouldn't recommend, but shout out, yeah.
I did not fit into that community. Kind of reminds me of Belito, Pretoria, actually. Just Belito is nice and it's got the ocean. Yeah, and
What,
actually
very-
a lot of
is it
people
cliquey?
very
What do you
cliquey.
mean,
Yes,
cliquey?
yeah. A lot of people from Pretoria actually moved to Belito. Actually, there's something there. We need a housewives of Belito. Anyway, what was I saying? You see, I digress. What was I talking about?
No, so you moved to Pretoria.
Moved to Pretoria. Now, when we were dating with this guy, he came from a very traditional family. Father had 11 wives and like 60 kids, literally. And because of that, I didn't get to know the family when we were dating. So I really got to know, because he would say, because of they're very traditional, you only meet somebody once they marry into the family. They don't meet girlfriends or whatever. Okay. Turned out he was hiding these people from me, because these people's belief system was diabolical. Okay. While he played Christian, he came from a family that did a lot of like dark things I'd heard about as an African child but never believed. But I had to be in that situation to experience those things for myself, to believe that they are real, because I would have never believed it had I not experienced it.
Are you able to?
So,
give an
working
example?
in the spiritual realm, where you can dream you're having a fight with somebody and you wake up with the bruises, things like that, where it just, things you see in the movies, people with creatures and, crazy, crazy stuff that led me to answer my spiritual calling, because I realized that's what protected me from that situation. At some point, they tried to kill me. How do I know this? The person that was working at our house, the helper, told me that she had been given poison by my mother-in-law to put in my food. So that's when I knew that, okay, clearly, it's time for me to leave this place. Because before then, everything was happening in the spiritual. It would be through visions, through dreams, mostly through dreams. And, when it's time for you to do something, everything will orchestrate and happen in a way that leads you to where you need to go. I'd jump into an Uber and it would be a psychic and they'd tell me things, where I'm like, okay. Or I'd be in town, there'd be a Sangoma who's drawn to me to tell me something. Or a friend of mine would dream that of a situation that has happened that I hadn't told them, just to show how connected I was to spirit and how everything I was experiencing is very, very real. And then it had to manifest in the physical, in that confession, for me to really wrap my head around what was actually happening in this family. And why I was the enemy was because I could see what they were doing.
This came to me. This quote is because it was an Oprah quote, so you might have. It's very famous, but it says, "The universe speaks to us first in a subtle whisper.
Yeah,
If ignored, the warning escalates to a thump,
yeah,
a brick,
Yeah.
and eventually a disaster that crashes onto you."
yeah. Absolutely.
First it whispers, as the universe first it whispers.
Absolutely. The thing that made me leave, there was a night where I was asleep and I felt somebody sitting on my bed. I didn't open my eyes, but I could see my grandmother. She had passed at that time. And she said to me, "What is it that you want to see now?" Almost like, "What now? Like, why are you still here?" And I got, all she said was, "What is it that you need to see now?"
Mm.
Because I'd gone through the doubt. I'd gone through being afraid of this power. I'd gone through having to define what it means, what I have to do, where I have to go. So really, I just needed to leave that place in order for me to become.
How soon was that after the helper told you that she'd been told to poison you? It must be very, very soon.
It was very soon, yeah.
That night?
No, it wasn't that night, unfortunately, because I also knew I couldn't tell him I'm leaving. So I needed a plan, and also I have a child, so I can't be reckless. She goes to school. There's so many things to consider. So I prayed about it. I remember fasting. I remember coming to Durban to see my parents. And
Fasting is a lot easier when you worried about poison, I guess.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Okay, you fasted, you came to Durban.
I came to Durban, and I remember going to the ocean and speaking about this. I was like, okay, fine, I agree. I need a plan. Like, if really it's spirit pushing me to leave this marriage and this home, make it happen. So I drove back to Joburg. I remember stopping at Queen Nandi Drive, the petrol port, just feeling very uncomfortable about going back. And at this point, I'd been in car accident and all crazy supernatural things. And I called a friend and we spoke for an hour until I was ready to go. And then I drove and Van Renens, I kept hearing like metal on metal in my car. And I was driving a new car. It wasn't even like 10,000 Ks on the clock. So it couldn't have been a mechanical fault. I suppose it can, but I knew it wasn't anything to worry about because the car's new. But it bothered me that I could hear the sound. I remember stopping at another filling station, changing things around in my boot, thinking maybe things are hitting each other, and still the sound persisted. The following day, I'm speaking to another friend. I'm like, this thing happened with the car. He says to me, take it to the shop, take it to the dealer. They put it up. I'll never forget. It was an Indian man. He came out of the workshop and he was white, like freaked out. So I ask him, what's happening? And he says, I have to show you. He shows me the car has been elevated, and now I know they call the drive shafts, and these things had snapped. What the purpose of this part is to make the wheels turn. The car wasn't supposed to be able to turn, especially around Van Renen. He was like, essentially, you should have only been able to go straight based on this situation. Then I knew it was divine protection. I knew for a fact that I had to be alive and that there was a purpose upon my life and I needed to take this path because I could have died. In any normal situation, I would have died. And I didn't. So I absolutely had to do what I needed to do in this world.
And what was that?
To be a healer. At this point, I joined my parents' family business, Mega Roads and Civils. We do road marking. And this is what I did, construction. I knew it's something that I didn't like to do. It's something I didn't vibrate with because of the type of people you have to work with, the energy that comes in that space, sometimes the greed, and a little bit of the corruption also, So, and it just was a space that didn't fulfill me. I was happy to do it. I'm still happy to do it because it's our own thing. And it's beautiful to be able to come into something that my parents have built and have the opportunity to take it further and leave it for our kids, you know? So I really enjoy that part of it. But, excuse me, um, I knew it wasn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me have some tea, darling. So I had always been different in my belief system. I remember in high school, I went through a phase where I was a Rasta. I didn't eat meat and I grew dreadlocks and I used to wear long things and I was very conscious and, you know, against the system. And at some point, I remember my principal, Mr. Harmon, God bless his soul, used to call me Winnie Mandela because I supposedly were leading the other kids astray to rebel, right? Not true, but I suppose this is how he viewed it. So I was always against the conventional way of thinking. I was always seeking for something else spiritually. I was always drawn to alternative ways of thinking. And when I was younger, it manifested as political. It was very anti-establishment, and we're gonna rebel, we're gonna go against, we're gonna challenge, and I suppose that's the spirit of a young person. And this is why we need young people to rise up in this country anyway. But anyway, so when that time came, I was like, I always knew there was something else to me. I was always clear that there's even when I would make money or go to the holiday or finally get those shoes, there was always something missing. And I know now that it's because I was attaching my being and who I am to things, to what it looks like, to how it should be at this age, at this time, you know? But really, who I was inside, there was this huge void because I just needed to come back to myself. I needed to come back within and introduce myself to myself and really step into my power, get cemented in it, and be brave enough to live differently, even though it wasn't the way I was raised, even though it's not what my parents believe, even though sometimes my family won't support me. But it's a knowing, it's an inner wisdom. It's like a divine guidance that I'm so sure about, that no matter what anybody says, like I know what I know. Yeah.
Okay. How does that manifest, like, or execute? What does that mean for your?
So usually somebody would have to go to epehlweni, which is an initiation school, and you would have what they call a gobela, which is your guide, your teacher, your parent in the spiritual, you know, and they help you navigate taking on your calling, learning about your gifts, um, you know, cleansing your lineage and breaking curses and really molding how you will work with the gift. Some people are herbalists and they work with herbs. Some people throw bones. Some people, like me, are seers, mediums. And so it manifests in different ways. I didn't have to go in to a place. My ancestors initiated me themselves and continue to. So I get messages myself. If there's somebody that has to jump in, a teacher, there's always teachers around me. I get shown through a dream or a vision, and I get directed to them. And we do that specific ritual, ceremony, or whatever it is I'm supposed to learn from them, and I move on. And one day I will be that for other people. And I continue to be, I actually am that to other people, but not in such a formal way. But in me learning and haven't gone through what I went through, it helped me have compassion for people going through similar experiences, but also most importantly, to believe and to be able to move past the physical and to see with my third eye, to tap into my highest divine self, that part that's connected to God. Yeah. So it manifests in constant learning, and in the learning I can practice, and your gift, just like anything, it grows. When I started 6 years ago, I couldn't sit with you and tell you your fortune. Now I can, so it develops, and it develops in time, slowly. One of the things I've had to learn through this is patience, because something I dreamt about 6 years ago is only manifesting now. So also you learn timelines and how your things work, how your people communicate with you. Sometimes there'll be omens that when you see a certain type of bird or whatever, that it's this particular person, or sometimes you smell something and it's this spirit that's around, or there's a particular item that is connected to spirit. So for me, it's also been a beautiful process of detaching the garb. Yes, I wear the beads. I have to. Maybe we can get into that, but that it's not about the physical. It's not about the hut. It's not about the clothes I need to wear. It's not about the title. If I can call it the magic, so to speak, the magic is me. So wherever I am, the work can happen. You don't need to come into my hut for the work to happen. You don't need to be wearing, I don't need to be wearing a particular thing for me to be able to connect with you or your ancestors, So I think it's also been a process of decolonizing the minds and possibly decolonizing my ancestors as well, because they had to run to church to be able to be. Because shamans, witches, seers and everything were demonized across the world. People were burnt, and this is generations of trauma. So eventually people were afraid of being themselves, and then they latch on to religion. And this is why you see the churches like the Zion Church in the Shembe, who, while they rooted in Christian belief, they also still involved a lot of the African traditional practices, which wouldn't happen in a Catholic church or a conventional church. And this is how our people had to adapt and immerse themselves in society and be able to continue to practice their ways without being demonized by the system.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I'd never thought of that it was because it wouldn't, you're right, it wouldn't be acceptable. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so it's not, that's another divisionist, like there's just like all this different stuff that you
hierarchy.
and you don't know when you're Catholic. I think I can only speak to this, but like all the different sects and all the different divisions that there are within the faith, and it's all, and understand, like yours was the only way.
Yes.
Everyone else doing anything else, that was incorrect.
Yes.
That was incorrect as a Catholic, because you're the most right.
You're the most, the only right.
The only right. I think it was a great Rowan Atkinson skit where he welcomes everyone down to hell.
Oh.
And I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe we'll put that in the show notes and everyone can see it. It's very old, but it's like he's the welcome everyone down to, and he gives everyone rooms. Like they've got this religion you need to go, this religion, and then it's hilarious to hear obviously, and then, but it also reminds me of all the different sects. So I didn't know that about like the Zionist Shembe, like that. It's it sounds like, and correct me where I'm wrong here, please. So it's Christian faith with African beliefs infused.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And hence the Shembe is having church on the ground, on the soil, barefoot, connected to the earth. And they wear, the men you've seen, they wear the leopard, and very Zulu focused. I don't know if other tribes practice the Shembe faith. Never met any outside of KZN. So maybe we should find out. But those churches, it's the Zion. They wear the a green, and some of them wear blue coats. And then there's the Shembe, and then there's one called the Zion Christian Church, which is the ZCC. They wear green. And yeah, funny enough, I think they all started around 1910, around the same time. So there must have been a core.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And the ANC also started in 1910. Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big call then. And
Yeah, to
Okay.
belong.
So you touched on a word that fascinates me. Call.
Core. Yes. So I was born a healer. This is an agreement you make before you come into this earth. It comes through an ancestor who was a healer themselves. And through you, they give you their gift, and you get to carry on and use the gift. With me, because there's that long line of people who didn't accept the gift, whether they couldn't or they chose not to, doesn't matter. But because of that, then there's all the other spirits. They were like, oh, okay, somebody's open to us. Let's come through. So I always say, I imagine if I had to see a psychiatrist, they'd say I have multiple personalities because, and this is probably how it would manifest in the medical. I was also diagnosed with ADD as a child, wandering mind, whatever. But now I know it's just the communication that comes through. I'm not daydreaming. I'm actually, getting messages. So it's something you have to answer to, because while you're born with it, while it's in you, you have to agree to take the path. Without consent, nothing can happen because you're not going to do anything, right? So I had to my main ancestor, funny enough, is a male. So in if somebody sees me in my traditional aspect, they'd refer to me as Mkulu, which is a man, grandfather, because I work with a male spirit. And I'm the conduit for him. So it would be him that you're dealing with, not me as a female in the physical. So that's very interesting. So I had to, once they come to you and tell you what needs to happen, where you need to go, what you need to do. These beads, I was shown as well. They become a little loose now, but you put them according to the first ones I got were these. So, and then they went like that. And they represent different gifts. They represent different spirits and different ways of working. Some people only have one spirit they deal with. Some, like me, have multiple. Neither of the ways are wrong. All of us have our own path. And some people only have to go to Twasa or initiate just to fix their family lineage. There's possibly people that didn't get married and had a child, and the child is calling the wrong surname. Hey, and I had to, I took a lot of things for granted like that, like the fact that when we are in ceremony, say before we do anything, we connect with our spirits, right? But as a child, if you are born out of wedlock, if your parents were married in the Western way and not in the traditional way, that marriage isn't recognized in the spiritual realm. If your child is born out of wedlock, they cannot use their father's surname because there's certain rituals and traditions and that have to be practiced and done for them to be handed over to the father's family, because you're incubated by your mother's side, by your mother's spirit. They hold you, they carry you into the world, and when you come out, there's certain things that have to be done for you to now also merge and belong to the father side in the spiritual realm. Of course, in the physical, he's your father, but spiritually, if those things aren't done, at least as a Zulu person, you are not recognized by your fathers, and you are recognized, but you don't belong. Belong is such a terrible, but you don't belong to them.
I don't know if you remember what I said. I said that I love what you told me now.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But I asked about calling, and the thing is, because I've had this experience, like I told you, I was in ceremony on Friday, and it was with the
shaman,
the Nishipai or ayahuasca. But I mentioned it to somebody, and they said to me, "Oh, they haven't been called to that."
So there's a time. There's spirit waits for you to develop to a point where you'll be able to handle what it is that they've bestowed upon you. If I had been called as a child, I wouldn't have been able to carry this gift and this power. So there's certain things I had to go through as a human being. There's certain stages I had to pass in order to firstly carry this and to be able to process it and understand it. Without the backing, it's like taking a matriculant and making them a CEO. Yeah, it wouldn't work. So while there are people who are called as children, and that's their path, but there's just a certain level and stage you have to be in order to take it on fully. And I knew this as a child. In matric already, I knew that one day I will have to do this. In my mind, it's something I could run away from forever. But life worked out in a way that now I'm here. And that calling is really you calling yourself back to yourself. It's like your truest self saying, hey, it's time to be real. Come back. This is not who you are, you know? So while, yes, you're called by spirit, but it's an inner calling.
So it was just thank you for that. What was further interesting for me was the language being used. I think we might have spoken about this, Luke, but the language of calling. So when this person said they weren't called to it, I was like, I don't know if it's definitely something that I have to work on myself, but I always think I'm the problem in a situation. Like, there's something wrong. It's like, oof, what did I do? And so I default to like looking at myself first, and then where I've got a lot of imposter syndrome. I think that's common in entrepreneurship. So we'll talk about your ventures into entrepreneurship now and that as well, as I understand it. With but the imposter syndrome is quite prevalent.
Yeah.
And then now, as you were saying it, I was like, but like when I was being in circle, in ceremony and that, I was like, and if I had those words, like if I had spoken to Ma before, I might have been so doubtful about why I was there. I was just interested in it. And I don't know if I've heard this of interest. It's a manifestation of spirit, and you're interested in things because of spirit. And that there's a reason why you're interested in things. It's because of your gifts. It's aligned to your gifts. You wouldn't be interested in other things.
Yes.
So I'm definitely going to be interested in I'm not going to be a warrior because I'm not interested in guns and knives and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But I can tell some certain things. And just playing paintball and war games, I'm the first to die. I have very little patience and that sort of thing. But yeah, so there's certain things. So the word calling, and I didn't know if it was a cop out. I also have this thing where, and this is the last thing I'll talk about in terms of the imposter, was one of the things about being worried about people say in entrepreneurship, you feel like it is common to feel like an imposter.
Yeah.
And I was like, but yeah, what happens if I'm right? And one of the things I've sat on, because you can loop forever on this, is like people that are imposters don't think they're imposters.
Yes.
So by the nature of it, and then I mean, okay, cool, stop thinking, move to the next thing, because we could get stuck in an infinite loop there. So the calling, thank you for explaining it. I think it's interesting. I do think maybe it's something I need to work out how to listen better, because not for necessarily words and messages, but I do get words, like I'll get the quotes, and maybe that's not That's not me. Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not me. It's not my words. So, like the
Yeah.
Oprah quote was not
Yes.
me.
Yes.
That's Oprah. The universe gives you what you need to evolve
Absolutely.
to the next level, or not.
Yes.
And when I say universe, I mean God. I mean everything.
And
Yeah.
also the universe calls you.
Mm.
Because all of us, by the mere fact that we're all here, means we have to be here and there's a space for us.
Mm.
So all of us need to be contributing something,
Mm.
you know. So I think absolutely also the calling from the universe that this is your part. In order for us to be in unison and flow, you also have to be participating.
Mm.
Yeah.
And if you could go back now
Mm.
to when you were 16 or when you entered high school,
Yeah.
when if there's a given time you think you would listen, probably is what the question should be. But what would you tell yourself?
At 16, I would say don't change. There's nothing wrong with you.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'd
That's
say.
different. Those two different things, huh?
Yeah.
Don't change, and there's nothing wrong with you. They're different things.
There are different things, but they link because the reason why I was drawn to changing or altering myself is because I thought there's something wrong with me. Because as a teenager, you want to fit in. In society, you want to fit in. You want to be liked, and you don't want to stand out in a negative light because of your woo-woo ways, you know? So I think they definitely stand, yes, they're different, but that's exactly what I'd say to myself. There is nothing wrong with you. Because funny enough, you go back to 16. I recently read a article about research that was done that the conclusion really was at 40, if you look at who you were at 16, what you were interested in when you were 16, it's likely to manifest into the person you are when you're 40, which happened that way for me. I was the speaker. I was the one who was brave to stand in front of a mic and speak my mind.
Mm.
And then I suddenly find myself in a radio environment having absolutely no radio experience at all because this thing is in me. It's innate in me. And I knew that when I was 16.
Mm.
Hence, that don't change.
Okay.
My voice is a big part of who I am. I heal through my voice. I encourage through my voice, and really a big part of me is speaking. In fact, when I don't speak, I literally feel a pain in my throat because I'm blocking one of my most important energy centers. So, hey, that girl at 16, man, hey, what a powerhouse.
Amazing. So you touched on the radio now. Can you take us through the next part of those lifeline? How did you get into radio, and what radio?
There's Carrie Miller who was on radio for a couple of years, and then she was starting her own radio station with her partner Fiona, and the people who nominated me, and she asked me if I knew somebody who would be interested in radio, and I was like, let's give it a try. In fact, my response was, do you mean anybody but me? And she said, oh, I wasn't even thinking, but okay. And I went and did a demo. I sent it to her, which I don't even think she listened to because at this point we had spoken so much, she was sold to give me a badge. And the very first day when the station launched, 1 November 2024, I was there doing traffic. And yeah, I went on until about 2 weeks ago, actually. Yeah. So it was the place that reminded me of who I am. And I remember saying to them when I started that I have been going through so much in terms of spiritually and even in the physical, going through the divorce, having to start over, finding out I was conned because this person took my business and put it in a trust. And now I had no access to my stuff. And I literally had to start over. So having to rebuild, having to learn about my spirituality, having to cement in it, still being a mother, still making sure I need to make money and everything. Getting that radio opportunity it felt like Spirit saying, it's fine, you've done enough for now. Here's something to make you happy. I feel like that's what that was. because for about 5 years I'd just been focusing on fixing, growing, building, becoming. That when this thing came, it was like, oh, okay, now I can incorporate my beautiful human experience and live and learn how to merge my spiritual being with my physical being, and really realizing that I'm one being. It's me. All of it is me. Everywhere I am, I'm a healer. Everywhere I am, I'm, the girl who likes to speak, or the girl who likes fashion. I don't transform into something else when you're coming to see me as a healer, if that makes sense. If anything, spirit comes through, but it's still me. So that's what the radio gig helped me to do, to figure out and to formulate what does this Thando, who's no longer living through her ego, look like. Rebirth of sorts. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds very authentic. You got to be very authentic on radio.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did.
That's the best way
I
to do it.
did.
Do you think?
Yeah, I did. I did. And I was lucky to be in an environment with people who also weren't so stuck on how things are supposed to be, who were happy to be in flow, because of course it was also a new thing. It's a digital station. It's not a big thing. It's the only digital station in KZN at this point. And so just learning on how to grow this baby and mold it and navigate through what is conventional radio versus now this new platform, which is really the future digital. Well, this is why we're here. So it was amazing to be part of a start of something new, something exciting, something that's never been done before. I love new things. I love newness, and it's that part of me of having moved around. Newness excites me a lot. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think there's something that when you talked about the newness previously, it reminded me of a nomadic nature. You talked about your things, and go for it.
I was in the Masai Mara, and I remember getting something telling me I need to go to the people. And we went, but it was like the touristy version of the Maasai. They jumped up and down. And I was just like, no, I want to go where they actually live, like the real people who aren't performing. And I spoke to where we were staying. They organized a driver for me. And they even said, this has never been done before. This is weird. Why do you want to go there? I want to see. And past the disappointment of, the poverty these people lived in, with all the money that goes into that park, was shocking. But then I came across this old lady who called me. Can't tell you what she said to me, but I did get that. The driver then told me, she said that I'm from there. And I was with my ex-husband at the time, and I remember telling him, I'm like, I'm a Maasai. I feel it. Like, these are my people. There's a deep knowing of whether I'm in Zanzibar, Tanzania, or Kenya. Like, there's something about the East there that speaks to me so loudly. And she gave me this, and these are the first beads I got, just to remind me of home. So the Maasai are nomadic people, and of course, also most of us African people migrated from somewhere to get to the south of Africa. And it was so beautiful. It was the very start of my spiritual journey to be able to get that piece as a foundation, as a root. And that's one of the things that helped me not attach so much to the Zuluness. Even though the languages are very similar, the Swahili and Zulu, they're quite similar. There's some words that we share, and there's an understanding. So whether Zulu came from Swahili or Swahili came from Zulu, but I ended up venturing. There was another village where there was the Ngoni people coming from Guni, and they still have the Zulu Tagazelo, the clan names, even though they speak Swahili. So if it started in South Africa or it started in the East, I don't know, but there's definitely a connection, which is I mean, I'm getting away a little bit, but which is the tragedy of, this xenophobia and everything that's happening, because how many of us are actually from South Africa?
Mm.
You know?
No, yeah, I have a view on
Yeah.
that. Like, we're all from Africa, actually. Even the
Yeah.
Hawaiians, I used to tell the
Yeah.
Hawaiians, like, yeah, you're just all from Africa. So,
Yeah.
but
So
and
we've
you're welcome
all,
back
it's the
anytime.
nature of human beings to move around.
So something you've made me think of, and I love this, and it's when you talk about those First People, Native Americans, the Hawaiians, those sort of
Yeah.
things, and then Africans and the different tribes and that sort of thing, is like, I learned this very recently, but it was, and it has to do with that xenophobia. I think we do need we do need like guards and fences and
Absolutely.
stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
not against borders.
Yeah.
There's
It's the law.
stuff.
It's the law.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
definite reasons for why we want those things, and but there's also the notion that, like, that people, this ownership of the land, and I love this. I learned this of First People, and I absolutely love it. I don't know how it works exactly, but I'm thinking about it a lot. Is that they believe that they don't believe that the Khoisan, for instance, I
Yeah.
think, were the one, they never own land.
Never.
The land owns them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful.
It's a connection.
It's obvious. How can you own something that will outlive you and has
that you didn't create even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
No,
How could
it
you own
doesn't.
it? But we do, and I know, and there's yin and yang, and there's that. So yeah, it's a very difficult subject, I think.
I think the core of the matter, and believing on based on my understanding of how this started, it was against people who are not documented, which is a reasonable expectation. There's nothing wrong with expecting people to follow the law. I can't go to another country and start a business without documentation. This is just the rules of the world. It's how it works. I think the problem comes in when it becomes about who the people are. Where now certain nations are being alienated because they're from that nation and stuff like that, And it goes back to what we spoke about earlier, that division needed to happen in order for Africa to be conquered. So these are the things we need to reverse. These are the things we need to be more conscious about as people, that, the world is not ours. We're just custodians. We are here to take care of the land so that it can take care of people in the future. It gives us food, we tend to it, and it's a give and take. But of course, I do think it's necessary for living in the world that we live in, for controls to be in place. Absolutely. It's not safe. We've seen to have people who we don't know are in the country, and also the system can't cater to everybody if they don't know that they're here. And that then causes issues you see in public hospitals, where there's not enough now for citizens, because especially in Limpopo, because a lot of there's that Great Border of Zimbabwe, Great Bridge. So a lot of Zimbabweans start off in Limpopo, and I recently saw that department complaining about the fact it's not that we don't want people in South Africa. That's crazy. We also want to have the freedom to go to any country we want to. It's just that if nobody knows you're here, then the system has catered for 10 people, but now there's 100 people. You can only imagine what chaos that caused. And I think as people, we need to educate ourselves on the politics of our country, especially. You see on how young people aren't voting, how there's no interest around, what's happening in terms of policy and stuff, which creates this problem, because it just looks like, these people are taking our jobs. These people are everywhere, and it creates a hate and unnecessary emotions, which are valid because people have their experiences. And I've been told I speak from a point of privilege. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I think being desperate and going somewhere else to be able to seek refuge is something that we should have compassion for.
Mm.
And of course, not all the people are from situations where there's wars and stuff. And that's the other thing. But I think we need a little compassion. And maybe the African governments, the leaders need to come together. I saw they actually did come together. I must check what came out of it. Because it's clear that South Africa holds the weight when people are migrating.
Mm.
Naturally, because we have the resources and everything. But yeah, something needs to be done.
I mean,
Something needs to be done.
there's a view I'm become aware of that South Africa in Africa is often seen as the promised land. Like you come here to Cape Town. Remember Jose from Truth Coffee, I think it was. He spoke, he's an incredible machine in the story. And he was a child soldier, came down and he was told when he's a child soldier that if you come to Cape Town, you get your own house and you get your...
Oh, wow.
And these stories, obviously, the less
The
educated you
spread,
are,
yeah.
the more fantastical these stories are, and they go through.
Yeah.
But I am worried about that. Obviously, that xenophobia. Even a selfish worry would be, at some stage when we're rid of foreigners, when do I become a foreigner?
Exactly.
Because to some people I am.
You see. So where do we draw the line?
Yeah, I do identify as a white African, but like that, it's some people that just don't see that. They see with their eyes. The and still the rules are there for a reason. I think that I was happy to see that the government and the governments, like you said, were speaking, because they were. It made me very worried and start to. You do this thing with, well, I do it definitely, but like when there's an absence of information, you create your own information. It's like these large language models and AI, they hallucinate.
Yeah.
So one of my hallucinations was why the governments weren't getting involved was because when there's a dog fight, you don't necessarily want to get involved in the dog fight because the dogs will turn on you. Because it is actually your fault that you put them in the same place.
I love that analogy.
You have responsibility there because you've got them and you've let them get in, whether it's through bribery or corruption or whatever it is, like forms of that they maybe a better analogy than dogfight would be better, but less violent. But that's it. In a fight in general, you don't get involved.
No, you don't.
When you get involved, you're involved. Right?
Yeah.
So they can go, oh, hold on, you're the reason we're here. So we actually don't. So it's
and this is the thing. I think our anger is directed at the wrong place and the wrong people because they don't let themselves in.
Correct.
They're paying somebody's allowing it.
Correct.
So the real issue is South Africans.
Because we can start there. I think there's many issues, but start where you can start, and I think is one of the things I live by. But and I agree with you there. We're gonna. I don't know how it transitions exactly, but I think we want to go to your ad, and we'll look at that now, and we can talk about why you chose it.
It was more about the campaign more than the advert.
Okay, cool. So let's show the advert and then.
Okay.
All the small things, they're back. Some bling, collect them all. They are recycled. Gotta get more on the app or in store. So many to collect. Shop in Final 44.
Checkers Little Shop is back with 44 new minis. Get one free every time you swipe and spend 200 Rand.
So the question will be around why that ad, and you said you started off by saying it's actually the campaign. What was the campaign? that attracted you about the campaign?
So if you bought on 6060, well, I usually avoid going to the store and call a scooter. You would then get these minis and the little mini products, and it became something that we all have to collect. So even when I didn't want to go buy a Checkers, I would order a Checkers 60 so I could add on to my minis collection, which I thought is brilliant. It is absolutely. Firstly, they get the kids because the kids want to collect. They get us because we grew up collecting cards and swapping out and marbles and stuff. So that brought out like this whole nostalgia in me. So, and everybody around me, because I was swapping out with adults and it was a whole thing. And at some point they ran out of minis.
Swapping out
And
with adults.
it was a whole thing on social media because now we're ordering and we're not getting our minis. We want our minis. They had us hooked. And I was like, that's how you get us.
So the child in you, the children and the children
It had
in you.
nothing to do with the food at Checkers. It had nothing to do what they sell. But it was such a beautiful campaign that strengthened the brand. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was about that brand. What I was buying at Checkers didn't matter, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
It was about getting those minis.
Yeah, Checkers are phenomenal at the moment. I mean, what a story.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
from where they were 10 years ago to now, like
yeah.
you just can't believe it. It's just one of those,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I thought
iconic story.
Brilliant.
So what
brilliant.
is it about the minis though? And I would love that you light up and you did use the word nostalgia.
Yeah.
So is it like dollhouse play or what is it with
No, it actually took me to the cards. I don't remember which cards we used to swap out. At some point it was wrestling. At some point it was soccer cards or whatever it was. But there was a culture around millennial kids of collecting things.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is you were collecting, all of us were collecting something.
Mm-hmm.
And you have too much of it, you swap it out. If you have the same, you exchange, you come together and you show off your collection with your friends, you know. So it brought out that, you know, that playful nature and such. I can't tell you where they are now, you know, but it did the thing.
The Tamagotchi, not the
The
Tamagotchi,
minis.
the Tazos.
The
and all the things.
Tazos.
Tazos, all the things we used to collect.
Exactly.
Yeah, we used to collect.
Exactly.
But you so there's a lot here, but do you think that you mentioned millennials? Do you think we were a generation that started, did the other generation not get those things?
I don't know.
Why
They're
are so
too
grumpy?
busy walking barefoot uphill to school.
Yeah,
all day.
yeah.
Involved in the war.
They were
the war
exactly,
children. Okay,
and
fine.
they were raised by World War II parents, you know.
Okay,
so
okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
think we got to experience the fun.
I think my dad
Yeah.
used to tell me how he walked barefoot uphill to school,
Mm.
and then by the end of the day, the earth had shifted, and he had to walk uphill again home. Like
You
whatever it
see,
was.
you
So
see.
his life was tough back in the day.
Yeah,
But yeah, back onto so
and we millennials are the parents now.
yes.
Yes.
So and the new generation, they don't collect, or do you think they collect?
No, because this is something we could bond on
Ah,
with the kids.
okay, cool.
Yeah, because it's something they knew when that bag came in. It's time to look what we got.
Okay,
you know,
so they do collect.
Yeah.
Where are your minis now?
I used to have a microwave and I got rid of it because of radiomagnetic frequencies. You know,
Okay.
maybe it wasn't the best decision, but that carving out in the cupboard where the microwave.
That's where the minis go. That's where the minis go. They're their own.
They're lined up. You know.
It's just the microwave is quick. It's got quicker than the other
Yeah,
ways to cook food.
yeah.
Well, they are air fryers.
It's the warming up the leftovers that's the problem.
Okay.
Because in my mind, you know, I cook, I dish up, I eat, but I didn't think about the leftovers. That's the problem.
Yeah, I use that
Yeah.
microwave a fair bit.
You need a microwave. You need a microwave.
Okay, perfect. And then your quotes. I wanted to get into your.
Delayed obedience is disobedience.
Okay.
Now back to maybe even the call. When it's time to do something, and you have a knowing that it's time to do it right now, and you don't, that's disobedience. Disobedience isn't just when you say no or when you rebel. It's also in not acting on what you have to do. That's really cheating yourself. Yeah. And then you learn the hard way. The same way I knew I should have left that marriage in 6 months and I didn't. And I went through the fires because I delayed. And in turn, I cheated myself, you know? Yeah. So I've learned that when it's time, I don't always have to know why. I don't even have to know where I'm going next. But I've learned through my life that through divine guidance, I'm always taken care of. I'll be fine regardless. I don't need to know what it is now. But right now, I know I have to act on this. Yeah.
I love that. Delayed obedience is disobedience.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, so I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's you touched on now that you need to, you'll know what you don't need to know the full extent, but you need to trust.
Yeah.
It's like trusting the process, I
You need
guess.
to faith.
you-
It's the concept of faith.
Yes. So it sounds like you in transition now. You were at the radio, and
I was at
what's
the
it next?
radio. What's next? Well, we're yet to see. We're yet to see. But I know whatever it is amazing. Anything that's coming into my life right now, I know is the right thing. Because I'm finally at a place where I'm being me and authentically me. And I believe the space I'm at, I'm attracting the things that are true and real to me. And I love that. I get to fully live the full extent of who I am without worrying about what it looks like to anybody. For the first time in my life, I don't give a damn what it looks like to anybody. And I used to say it a lot that, I don't care, but I did. I did.
Mhm.
And it's really right now that I don't. Yeah.
Okay. Who are your incredible machines?
My incredible machines are my parents. My parents didn't finish school. After the 76 riots, they didn't go back. From my dad getting a import-export license during apartheid days in the 70s as a teenager to import clothes from America and Italy and sell them so that he can help his mother with the 10 kids that my grandfather left her with. To just seeing them get into the banking and from working at the bank, starting their own business. And in a world where you are told you can't do anything without education, having experienced people who made it in life without an education blows my mind. It blows my mind. It just speaks of like an inner wisdom, an inner knowing, and an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. A leader is a leader. It's something that's in you. It can not be taught to you. My parents had no formal guidance at all, but they were able to get into the bank. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think there are two people that didn't allow their circumstances to shape who they were or who they are. They always strived for more and they made sure that they got more, despite the background that they came from. And it's really shaped me in such a beautiful way not to be a victim. There are no victims. Most people have it hard, especially in that generation as Black people. Most of them had it hard. It's not an excuse anymore. At some point as an adult, you can't, it's not your parents' fault anymore. It's not the Afrikaners anymore. It's not apartheid anymore. You're choosing now to be a victim. And I think it's been so beautiful to be part of a family where even my aunts and uncles, actually nobody had a formal education in my family, but everybody was able to leave home, have a life, entrepreneurial, and build families successfully, you know? So just to not be a victim, man. That's the biggest thing I got from that. That while the world may say, it looks like this, but you have a choice. You are not a passenger in your life. You are in absolute control. And there's some point as an adult, and I say as an adult because you're not a rational thinker when you're younger, and it possibly still absolutely is your parents' fault because they are responsible for you. But you grow up and you choose how you want to live your life. You choose the direction you want to take. And in this age of information, ignorance is really a choice. You can't blame anybody anymore for not knowing something. It's everything is accessible to all of us. There's time and space for all of us, and you just have to choose to take it. Yeah, and that's what those two people have done. Like, take control of their lives and become leaders in the family. Really, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, amazing. I think it's, I love it. I mean, often people might go to my incredible machines. I think in my example that I give to you as the when we confirm the invitation is my parents for sure.
Yeah.
And it was different. Like, so I do love that story, even though they're not necessarily going to have podcasts or big guests or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing where you're that loving and respectful of those.
Yeah.
Because when I spoke about my wife earlier, it's something that I've learned through her and then identified through my mother. Parenting's no joke. It's like, it's the best thing I've ever done. And like I said,
the
I
most
came
challenging too. Yeah.
I came into it a little differently, and I attached fully, and I am the father there. And but what it means now, I remind every young person listening or watching, and just it's like, it's the best thing you'll ever do, like 100% the best thing. And I've been very fortunate in my life. So best thing I've ever done, is parenting. Like, employment used to be being able to give people employment. That was one of it, but parenting's better than that. But there's also, like, my wife, it fascinated me when we first started dating. She and even when our youngest was born, it was more real for this instance, but she would check whether they were breathing. Like, because there's cot death, and then there's that, and then I realized my mum, I'm in my 40s, my mum still checks I'm breathing.
Wow. Yes.
That's
By
it.
the phone.
It's
Yeah.
for life.
Yeah.
You're in it,
Yeah.
until your last breath.
Yeah.
You will check that those beings are breathing
Absolutely.
in one way or not another. And like,
Absolutely.
my mom still checks that I'm breathing. Like,
Yes.
my wife checks the boys. She
Yeah.
checks I'm breathing still.
Yeah.
Too, but like,
the big baby,
yeah, the big one. But yeah, is there anything you would like to say before? Anything we haven't touched on that you would want to close with?
We actually didn't get into the business.
Yeah. Okay. Please tell me
Yeah.
about the business. We didn't get into the breathwork, so you can tell
Yes.
us, because where we can find out more about that. But tell us, yeah.
The highlight for me about the road marking business was getting an opportunity to develop a skills development course, NQF level 2, to help people who didn't have an opportunity to get a formal education but know that they can and want to run a business, just to equip them with the skills on the start and running of a business, from, the tax aspect of it to cash flow, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's been something I'm very, very proud of. And it's something we've been doing for the past 2 years. And it's been so transformational. And also, there isn't a course for road marking, an accredited course for road marking in this country. So we thought, let's teach people how to road mark. You don't need a degree to be able to run a business, as we have seen in my family. So it's just identifying those people who have it in them and who are open to growing in that way. And we've been fortunate to be able to partner with, like, a Sanral in the Eastern Cape, where they get community people together, and then we go and then train them. And some of those businesses are running now. In construction, there's gradings, grade 1 to 9. The 9 will be the big companies, and the ones will be the startup companies. And everybody we've trained, we leave them with the level 1 because it comes with getting the experience. And some of them are now on a level 3, and it's been one of our proudest moments to be able to give back in that way, because this unemployment issue in the country, we can blame the government all we want. We are the government. This country is ours, and we need to do something about it. Collaborate with the government. We've seen there's a lot of flaws and faults. Instead of complaining, you do something about it. We all have access to community. Whether it's one person or your entire community, we all have an opportunity to do something about our communities. And I think it's something I love encouraging people to do. Just be an active citizen, man. This is our home. All of us want the same thing, safety, We all want to be safe here. We all want to prosper here. We all want to be able to walk down the street and not have to worry that my phone is going to be snatched, The only way those things can be fixed is on the ground. The people that sit in parliament are not in touch, unfortunately. They don't experience the everyday experiences that we experience. So I think it's really time for us to flip it. If you think of that hierarchy, just turn it around and have the people at the top, and it filters down to the leadership. And that's the only way. It's our money that's being used. It's our resources. It's our energy. And it's time for us to take a stand and change the narrative on how those funds are used.
And
Yeah.
the execution of that starts with like a voting?
It starts with the voting, yes. It absolutely starts with the voting. Because with voting, then you get to take an interest in the country. And that's at least one step closer to where we need to be. I'm also part of the National Stakeholders Forum, which is a derivative of the CIDB. They regulate the construction industry. And they got together stakeholders, whether government, business, or end user, all that are affected by the construction industry, to be part of the people that encourage, or what's the word? Have a say, enable, no,
Right.
influence policy around the construction industry. The construction industry is the biggest employer in this country.
Okay.
So it's very important for us to have a say in the policy making around it, because it's the one industry that creates the most jobs in South Africa. So yeah, this is me doing my part, and I love to encourage people to please do your own part in your own communities. It's the only way we'll shift things. Blaming and looking, yes, they all faulty. Politicians all around the world are faulty. But really, it's us that need to take action and change things. The same way we put them there, we can take them away. Yeah.
Do we have agency?
Yeah.
We have power.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And the biggest misconception is that we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where can we find out more from you, the Funkie Healer?
The Funkie Healer. So I host retreats. Funny enough, I'm having a men's one in October. I struggled a lot with this because I was like, I'm a woman, they're not going to come. But I deal with a lot of male clients. I suppose maybe because of the male I work with, umkhulu, yes. And there's a lot of trauma that men are facing, and they don't have safe spaces to be able to deal with that. And the moment I shifted my contribution to this and realizing it's for me to create the space to allow for the healing to happen, to facilitate and direct. I'm not there to fix anybody, but just to create that safe space for men to be able to be and feel safe enough to open themselves up to these traumas that they face. Because women come to my retreats, no problem. Women come to wellness things. You organize anything, the women are there. And they'd be like, it's so unfortunate because I evolve, I transform, I'm doing the work, and then I go home to same old John. And it's a tragedy. And where they were like, please, we need our husbands, our partners to be able to experience this kind of thing as well. And the guys I deal with as well, they're not going to facilitate it. They're not going to organize it because it's weird, apparently. So it's been amazing being confident enough to be like, okay, it's time. I'm absolutely the right person to do it. It's me. And it's going back to that, this is just a physical body. If we remove gender from the equation, we're all spirit. All of us are just spirit. And in connecting that way, on a human level, on a spiritual level, I know I will, and I'm going to create the space that is necessary. I've got 5 men that have booked already, and that in itself tells you that they want to. It's just having the spaces available there. So yeah, www.thefunkiehealer.com, funky with the IE. I do transformational breathwork sessions. How I got into breathwork, shamanic breathwork in particular. The first time my ancestor, my spirit came out in the physical, I noticed there's a particular way that I was breathing. And this breath was helping me connect even more. But based on how I controlled the breath, it would help me either come out of the state or get further into the state. And then I knew there was something there. And then I started facilitating breathwork sessions just based on what I know from yoga and stuff, until I was led to Breathwork Africa, where a medical doctor started the school of breath because she has shifted from practicing in the conventional medical way and healing people through breathing. So it was important for me to learn the science of it all and why and how it happens, and whether you're dealing with anxiety, stress, just needing to regulate your nervous system and how that manifests in your life overall. It's been so transformational. And it's a gentle way. The shamanic breath can take you to the big emotions, but because it's through the breath, it's still a gentle way. You know, and it's a way that you can control because you haven't taken anything. So you can come out if you want, but it exposes you to yourself, that through your breath, the breath which is life, the breath which is God, it's the first and the last thing. It's the thing that tells you you are alive. You know, this is the power of the breath. And I'm so passionate about reminding people of their own power, their own divinity, their own connection to source, and that in really, you are divine. When we help you regulate your nervous system, you're able to rest at night. That means you're able to help your body rest and heal and get out of fight or flight mode. And that's when your body is able to heal itself. Because this thing is so intelligent on its own. Nobody needs to tell you that open your eyes, breathe, blink. It knows what to do, you know? So yeah, it's been the one mode that's been the most transformational because it's based on the person. It's not what my spirits are telling me to tell you. You don't have to take anything. I don't have to take you to the... No, it's you. You facilitate your own healing. It's all inside of you. And yeah, this has been my beautiful journey with the breath, and it's growing, it's beautiful, it's transformational, and it's also become a way that I channel because when people come for the sessions, I'm able to take them through and they get to have conversations and meet their ancestors. Yeah, so I love it. I'm in my power, man. Hey? Yeah, and I'm just loving being me, and I've spent so many years having low self-esteem or being afraid of being myself or being afraid of being looked at a certain way or isolated or being seen as crazy or speaking woo-woo, and there you are with your stuff. You know what I mean? I'm finally at a place where it's like, hey, man,
It is what it is.
this is me. This is me. If you've got a problem, it's on you. It's not on me, you know? So I love it. And operating from a place where it's not from the ego. I'm not healing you. I'm guiding, I'm facilitating, I'm a conduit, but really the healing is within you. And that's, people will ask me, why don't you advertise more? Why don't you put out more? Because people who need to heal in the way that I work will sort me out. They'll come to me. I don't fetch anybody. Not a doctor, you know. Don't fetch anybody. They will come to me. We will find each other. And that's how divine works. If you're in flow, you know, everything that is for you will never miss you. So, yeah.
Well,
That's what I got to say.
well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I
the
had such a great
incredible
time.
Funkie Healer.